Today on Leaders in Coffee, presented by Bachour, we sit down with Miami-Dade County Commissioner Xavier Suarez. Commissioner, thank you so very much for joining us for Leaders in Coffee, presented by Bachour.
This is great. I love the ambiance. It's a nice, beautiful day in Miami, as always, and in Coral Gables.
That's right.
But I hear you have some pastries or something.
Let's go select
one.
All
right.
Here, everything is great. So.
Oh God, dulce de leche croissant.
One of Antonio Bachour's favorites.
I don't think I could lose with that.
An issue that has affected at least Miami Beach, and in some ways Coral Gables is one that's going to be vulnerable to it, is sea level rise, the king tide. I know the county has been proactive in addressing this issue. Where do you see this going?
I did my own data gathering in the last king tide events. I posted them. We had problems in areas that are, let's say, 1.9 feet above sea level, which is Mathis and Hammock. We had big problems there. We had some problems in Little River, which is also a couple of feet, and Collins and Brickell are 3 feet above sea level. It's not as much now the concern about hurricanes and storm surge, because in Miami Beach we've done some very good things. Trying to protect the sea turtles, we have actually added these sand dunes that are now vegetated and very solid, and I calculate that 5 to 6 feet of storm surge would be able to be absorbed. So a hurricane category 1, even if it hits frontally, probably won't do as much damage. But we did have king tide events in Miami this year where water was seen almost everywhere in those seashore communities. So it's time to consider maybe changing our codes to require at least a foot higher and at some points or another. I'm not a big fan of raising streets. I'd rather have the water come in and go back out. Natural barriers, like the sand dunes that I was referring to, are much better. And the city of Miami is leading the way. I have to say, Mayor Francis Suarez, they have $192 million just for resilience. I've done a lot of studies on this, and I've published them. Anyone that wants to see any of my studies, which, by the way, I do myself, a little help from my staff in the research, but I write them myself. Just ask me. Send me an email to my name, Xavier Suarez, ESQ, because I'm a lawyer, ESQ, the first 3 letters of Esquire, at AOL.com, and you communicate with me on this or any other issue.
So, speaking of Mayor Suarez, how has it been as commissioner and as a father to see your son follow in your footsteps?
Well, right now the city of Miami is a model. Talking about transportation, they have free trolleys that go to all corners of the city. They connect to the Metro Mover, and the Metro Mover has been kept free. It hasn't been easy. I got a couple of commissioners every year that want to put a fare, which makes no sense whatsoever. And so the city of Miami has increased its tax base last year by 10%, more than 10%. That's incredible. I know no other city in the United States. And reduced the millage rate accordingly. As your valuations go up, you should reduce the millage rate. People should not have to pay more in taxes for the same property and the same services that they've been receiving. That doesn't make any sense. That creates inflation, which is not fair. And government inflation is even more unfair than natural inflation that happens in the market. And so he's done a great job. He's a world spokesman right now on resilience. He is a member of the Global Commission that is headed by Bill Gates, and it's got former Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and the president of the World Bank, Kristalina Georgieva, as a member. He recently testified both at the UN and at the Council on Foreign Relations, and he was selected by Time Magazine as the next generation outstanding 100 individuals. Not too many politicians in that list, so I'm very proud of what he's doing.
So you've recently announced you're running for Miami-Dade County Mayor. What is your vision for our county?
Transportation is absolutely the key. Number 2, and followed very closely by housing, affordable housing. We're in my district, and particularly in the areas of my district that are still slum and blighted, which are very small. The West Grove is now really coming to life, and in South Miami, we're building substantial numbers of affordable housing with government incentives, and to the extent possible, with government land, there's no need for the county to own 4,500 properties, at least 4,500 properties. And sometimes some of my colleagues, when I say, let's sell it, and they go, oh no, but we should keep this property. Government shouldn't be so divesting itself of property. I said, there's three good things that happen when you sell property that government doesn't need. First one, of course, is you put money in your treasury, so you reduce your debt and you have a better bottom line. The second one is you don't have to take care of maintaining it, risk management, all the bureaucrats saying, what do we do with it? How do we rent it? What kind of income do we get from it? But number three is the most important. And they forget about number three. Number three is that you then have, as soon as you sell it to a private sector entity, you have a stream of revenues forever and ever. And sometimes they look at me, my commissioners, like they don't understand what I'm talking about. When you sell it to the private sector, it pays taxes. When government owns it, it pays no taxes. It's a wasteful use of 4,500 properties. Now, some of them we're not going to sell, obviously. We have 270 parks, 70 fire stations, 40 or 50 police stations, and the water and sewer facilities, and the airport and seaport. But we don't need too many more buildings. We don't need 18 administration buildings to run an enterprise that has no competition, very little innovation. 50 years ago, when the county was first created, we still used the same firearms for the police officers, the same parks, the same lawns to be cut, the same streets to be built, pretty much the same asphalt that we used to use before. So government services themselves haven't changed. The only thing that's changed is the administration of them, which has become very complex. Our IT department has gone from a non-existent department, zero budget, to $211 million with close to 800 employees, all of whom average with benefits $130,000 a year. To do what? To run a system that doesn't change from year to year, doesn't have to compete, doesn't have to, market itself. I mean, you don't have a choice whether to use a governmental service or not. Whether to get your water or whether to get, use the highways or the parks, the libraries. By the way, the libraries are a great asset to us. Early on in my tenure, the administration tried to reduce the libraries and close them down on Saturdays. They forget 25% of the people in the county don't have Wi-Fi at home. And in poor areas, it's probably 50%. Two of my commissioners opened their offices, field offices, just so that people can use Wi-Fi. And the libraries provide that service. So it's not rocket science to run a county. I mean, the budget is very complicated, and it's been made more complicated by the bureaucrats. I'm convinced of that. I hate to say it. But, and one of the few people that understands it, that is not in the administration, that gets paid $6,000 a year, is myself. And that's one of the things I offer as a candidate for mayor. Frankly, I don't know that any other commissioner or candidate for mayor understands the county budget like I do.
Well, thank you so very much for your time. We appreciate you being on Leaders in Coffee, and thank you all so very much for watching. We're going to enjoy our pastries, but come by Bachour. You can now enjoy dinner here as well. Tune in next time for another Leaders in Coffee presented by Bachour.